This is CBC Here and Now.
Some students are going back to school and some are staying home.
In person, full time. This is not possible right now.
I'll have more details coming up on Here and Now.
We got 50 boxes of brand new inventory. It's all out on the floor. We're ready to rock and roll.
Getting ready for the alert level changes.
Stores in St. John's are gearing up to reopen this weekend as the rest of the province starts to open restaurants and gyms.
It's going to feel pretty spring-like through the day tomorrow, but as we head through the end of the weekend, things are going to start to cool down.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Cowan.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. We'll get to those stories in a moment, but we begin with a Here and Now investigation. A family doctor has been cautioned by Newfoundland and Labrador's medical regulator. It determined that he encouraged people to breach public health orders during the pandemic.
But that hasn't stopped the doctor from continuing to post misinformation on Facebook as recently as just a few days ago. Now he's defending himself by stressing that he's simply trying to foster debate about COVID-related issues.
Here Now's Adam Walsh has the details.
Dr. Peter Morey works in this clinic behind me in Bay Bulls, about half an hour outside of St. John's. But it's what he said online that caught the attention of regulators. These are screen grabs from Dr. Peter Morey's Facebook page. Notice the warnings of false or partly false information. It's posts like these and the opinions behind them that landed the doctor in hot water. Last summer, the provincial medical regulator took action against him. In Morey's online medical profile, it says he's been counseled to comply with the National Code of Ethics and Professionalism. It also says he's been cautioned to cease encouraging members of the public to breach orders of the Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Janice Fitzgerald, who has issued warnings to the public before.
If you're looking at social media, you do need to make sure that the information is coming from a trusted site.
Untrustworthy information like this, posts from last August, that are either false or misleading. Here's one saying masks don't work. This one says COVID-19 is not much worse than influenza. Morey also posted it was time for people of the province to stop wearing masks and say enough is enough. He wouldn't do a taped interview, but over the phone he told me he's not an anti-masker. He said they can be dangerous if not properly used. He told me the point of his posts was to stimulate conversation, not to say government is wrong. And he said he's made his Facebook posts less aggressive since his caution last summer. But he hasn't stopped posting. In late January, there was this post asking why we're still wearing masks and in lockdown. He also posted this video marked as false information.
You must understand the magnitude of the lie to understand what they're trying to tell you about these experimental vaccines.
That doctor, on top of spreading false information, also made news in January for being inside the Capitol building during the siege by pro-Trump protesters, which led later to her being arrested. Back here in Canada, there are other cases like Dr. Morey's, a handful of situations where health authorities have launched investigations into comments like the ones he made. Here, the College of Physicians and Surgeons won't provide any other details on why they cautioned Morey or what they've done to make sure he continues to comply with the Code of Ethics. Adam Walsh, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, temperatures today sitting above zero for most of us, but it didn't feel nearly as nice as it did yesterday with all of that sunshine. Plenty of cloud cover moving in. Temperatures anywhere from 2 to 5 degrees across the island. Even some mild temperatures up through portions of Labrador as well. Happy Valley Goose Bay at 4 degrees and Lab City at +1 earlier today. So we've got that southwest flow. Temperatures still sitting anywhere from 0 to 2 degrees for the eastern portions of the island. Heading towards the west coast, similar temperatures, a little cooler for the northern peninsula. And then we're sitting under a ridge of high pressure for most of Labrador. So we've got that clockwise rotation bringing in some of that colder air for northern portions of Labrador. 0 degrees for Happy Valley Goose Bay and -4 for Lab City. So as we head through the night tonight, this warm front's going to lift over the western portion of Labrador, and that's going to bring up some of those temperatures overnight. We're looking at some rain and some snow moving across the island. That's generally going to continue through the night tonight, but as this low moves closer, we lift into some of that warmer air, and rain is the story as we head through the day tomorrow. So we'll have those details coming up.
Well, just one new case of COVID to tell you about today as the Avalon inches closer to Saturday's lower alert level. That new case is in the eastern region, a man who's a contact of a previous positive case. Also announced today, a back-to-school plan. Education officials announcing sweeping changes for K-12 students. Here now's Mark Quinn has more on what Saturday's lower alert level means for students and teachers.
Today, we are announcing changes for every region of the province.
In broad strokes, the measures outlined today mean that kindergarten to grade 9 students across the province are returning to in-class learning. But most high school students across the province will continue classes online.
It seems that the 2-meter distancing rule for non-cohorted classes will be in place for the foreseeable future. Therefore, we need to look at the approach that can be implemented most effectively over the long term to follow public health guidance.
These changes come into effect next Thursday, March 18th. There will be no classes for students on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. Teachers are being given that time to prepare for the changes. There are exceptions. Education officials say that in keeping with the advice of public health, some grade 10, 11, and 12 students will return to in-class learning, or Scenario 1.
So they would be smaller K-12 schools. So for example, in Labrador region, there are only 2 schools that have to go to Scenario 3, and those are to be the larger high schools in Menahek and Mealy Mountain. All other schools in Labrador region, as an example, are adopting Scenario 1, including the high school students.
The Provincial Teachers Association says it's pleased to see many of the changes they suggested have been adopted. However, they still have questions about physical distancing in schools.
To what extent do students intermingle and mix during the non-instructional periods, during recess, during lunch, during trips to the washroom? The entire return to school for a K-9 is really hinged on public health insistence on cohorts. We have questioned the degree to which cohorts, as envisioned by public health, are actually able to be maintained within our province's schools.
Those concerns are clearly shared by parents on social media. But these may not be the last changes for students and teachers this year. The Education Minister says everything that was announced today will be reviewed in early April. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Following 4 weeks of lockdown, the Avalon Peninsula will slowly start to open up this weekend. Malls, retail stores, and grooming services like hair and tanning salons will be allowed to reopen. The short turnaround will make it a busy few days for business owners in St. John's. Here and Now's Jeremy Eaton has that story.
After a month-long lockdown, businesses on the Avalon Peninsula will be allowed to open back up as that region jumps to alert level 4. And this is coming as very welcome news for some business owners in downtown St. John's.
Hi.
It's been a long year for Gail Decker.
It's been a bit of a roller coaster between the Snowmageddon and now our second shutdown with COVID. It's been difficult.
But on Saturday morning, her store, Next Clothing, will be allowed to reopen.
I am over the moon excited. Can't wait.
The store recently celebrated its 24th anniversary. The first shutdown forced her to switch gears a little, creating an online store with curbside pickup and delivery.
And that way customers could actually shop online, which was something totally new and foreign to me. And we have kept that going, and that actually worked really well.
Still, lots of work left to do. She has to make sure she follows the health guidelines. Decker hasn't stopped coming to work since the shutdown. 50 boxes of new inventory just arrived as the second shutdown came back.
There's 12 still unpacked, whether I get them open by Saturday or not, but we have lots of new inventory.
Just down the street, another happy business owner.
Certainly a relief. As you know, our business relies completely on human interaction.
With the second lockdown lifted, staff are eager to get back to work when the salon reopens on Monday.
They are definitely eager. They're confident to get back. They're excited to see all their guests.
It's a big change, though. Last year, salons like this one had to wait until alert level 3.
They've done a lot of studies, and transmission in salons and spas is very low. So that's great for us. We are happy to be back.
The only problem, it might not be easy to get into a chair like this one. Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, St. John's.
And while the Avalon prepares for Alert Level 4, the rest of the province will be moving into Alert Level 3. One big change is the return of in-person dining at a reduced capacity. Businesses are getting ready for Saturday, and one manager took some time out of a very busy day to speak with us at Here and Now. Have a look.
Well, we're getting ready to open. Saturday we'll be opening up as a restaurant. And we're getting everything geared up and getting all the tables set up. Everything has to be 6 feet apart. Everything is, we're getting geared, hooking up the tanks and getting geared to do it. Yeah, I think we're much further ahead. We know what we're in for this time. You know, it's most of it's reservations. You can't just come in and have a drink as you normally would at the bar. You have to order a food in order to have a beverage. Tables and people at tables have to be 6 feet apart. Although we are having some entertainment for Paddy's Day, we can't put anybody close to the band. There has to be 12 feet distance there. Everything just has to be safe. The takeout's been going really well, actually. We're pretty pleased with that. But the staff have all been laid off. Basically, it's been myself and the cook there. Staff's been laid off. They're happy to be coming back. They're tired of this, right? And in this industry, like, you know, my staff mostly, you know, they're working, you know, for tips. You know, they get paid, obviously, but, you know, it's all the extra money. And this is what they're doing without. And they're not getting that on the government programs, right? You know, everybody's hurting in this industry. You know, there's no doubt. A couple of the smaller bars here in town also serve a bit of food, so they should be safe, you know. But, you know, there's other places that just won't be able to open this time. You know, maybe in a couple of weeks' time, if things lessen up again, they will. Right? People want to get out. The biggest thing I hear is, you know, when are the bands coming back? When can we dance? People want to dance, you know, and Legends is a dance bar, right?
And you don't know what to tell them.
Well, I just, you know, that's up to Dr. Fitzgerald and her crew, I guess, right? You know, I'd say when this is all done, our boss will be doing the jig, right? You know, let's get things rolling again, right?
And we'll come back to this story in 15 minutes and hear from the Gander and Area Chamber of Commerce, a group that's been asking to go to Alert Level 3 for the last few weeks.
Well, if you've been driving during the lockdown, you may have noticed it's getting more expensive to fill up your vehicle. Gas prices went up again today, this time by nearly 4.5 cents a litre. The price has been going up pretty consistently since mid-December. In total, nearly 28 cents per litre. In December, the price of gas on the Avalon was $1.18. It steadily increased, sometimes by a little bit, sometimes by bigger jumps, and today the price is just above $1.43 a litre. For comparison, if you've got a truck with a 75-litre tank, today it would cost you $107 to fill up. That's $19 more than you would have paid in December. Well, to the courts now. Serial rapist Sofiane Boleg is going to spend time in jail. The Supreme Court of Canada has ruled it will not hear his appeal of an earlier decision. Boleg was convicted in 2016 of sexually assaulting 2 women and a teenager in separate attacks. He also robbed the girl and one of the women and choked the other woman until she was unconscious. He was armed with a stick in the first attack and a knife in the other 2. Chief Provincial Court Judge Pamela Golding declared him a long-term offender and ordered him to stay in jail indefinitely. The Supreme Court of Canada does not say why it refused to hear the appeal.
Well, we still don't know the start date for the inquiry into ground search and rescue in the province, but Commissioner James Igliorte has appointed Jeff Budden as the inquiry's counsel. He's a St. John's lawyer who deals mainly in civil litigation and public interest law. The inquiry was prompted by the death of 14-year-old Burton Winters in 2012. Winters froze to death after his snowmobile became stuck on the ice outside Makkovik. The purpose of the inquiry is not to investigate his death, but to examine ground search and rescue operations and recommend ways to improve it. Well, the Transportation Safety Board has finished its investigation into the helicopter crash at Thorburn Lake near Clarenville last July. The privately owned helicopter was in the area to refuel on a cross-country pleasure flight when it crashed. The board determined the helicopter approached a parking lot, hovered, decided it was too windy to land, and then lifted back up. Then the helicopter began to swing from side to side. The pilot was unable to correct it, lost control, and then crashed into nearby trees. One passenger was killed. Another passenger and the pilot were seriously injured. The board says landing and taking off in a confined area presents challenges, and conditions can lead to that unexpected swing. It noted the pilot had not landed at that pad before. As well, the helicopter's manufacturer added a safety notice about strong crosswinds in its pilot handbook.
The city of St. John's has condemned a house at the center of a heated and destructive landlord-tenant dispute.
Window was taken out. Obviously, there's glass everywhere.
Last week, we told you about a home on Allendale Road, how the landlord put the bucket of a front-end loader through this window. He says it was an accident. His tenants say he did it on purpose to render the home uninhabitable, forcing them out. An inspector told the couple last Friday that the home is no longer fit to live in. But the tenants tell CBC they have not moved out. Instead, they're waiting on the province's Residential Tenancy Board to weigh in on whether they should stay or leave. Well, a PC candidate in central Newfoundland is defending a social media post tonight. In the video, he expressed his desire to become leader of the PC party, a job that's already filled. He quickly deleted it, but not before it was seen and shared. Here now's Terry Roberts reports.
Like many politicians, Chris Tibbs has embraced social media. 3,600 Facebook friends for the incumbent MHA for Grand Falls, Windsor, Buckens. 2, 3, sometimes more posts every day.
But it was a post earlier this month that got political tongues wagging and some questioning whether Tibbs had crossed the line during this chaotic and drawn-out campaign and perhaps undermined the current leader, Ches Crosby.
One day would I ever look at the leadership of the party? After much deliberation, talking to my wife and my 2 sons, absolutely I would when my time is right.
So consider the timing. Voters are still casting their ballots. Ches Crosby is still very much leader of the PC party, and obviously he wants to be premier whenever the results of this chaotic election are revealed. But in the midst of all this, a member of his own team starts musing about his own leadership goals.
There was a 10-second blurb or taken out of context of a 2-minute video. The 2-minute video was actually talking about leadership in general and the leadership or the lack of leadership that we've seen so far from Premier Andrew Furey.
Tibbs says the video was inspired by his frustrations with the Liberals. He says he wrote Andrew Furey on December 21st, raising concerns about issues in his district. After weeks without a response, he decided to record the video. But the question remains, why did he delete it?
The first thing was a friend of mine brought it to my attention and said, well, you know what, somebody could actually take this out of context, which is actually what happened. The second reason I took it down was later on that day, the Premier's office did get back to me with a response after over 2 months, and I guess the video did work because it did get a response from the Premier's office.
Public opinion polls have not been very flattering for the Tories, and the numbers for Crosby are even worse. Some say there's a message in the campaign signs. In red, it's Team Fury. In blue, the Crosby name is nowhere to be found.
So time to come clean, Chris Tibbs. 17 years drilling for oil. Just 2 years as an MHA. Do you really want Ches Crosby's job?
Not anytime soon, my friend. There's no way I'd be taking this leadership until I learn so much more. And I have so much more to learn off of great leaders just as Ches Crosby. And I support Ches Crosby 100%.
Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
So what does the current PC leader have to say? Well, Ches Crosby released a statement about it today. Crosby says, Chris Tibbs is a valued member of the PC caucus and has my full confidence and support. I look forward to working with him in the new PC government that I intend to lead.
Paul McCartney is interested in it because they're doing a video of yesterday, 11 o'clock this morning. Girl called me from Bangor, Nova Scotia and said, Mr. Skinner, we got $10,000 here for you. Yesterday.
This rock legend once sold a very expensive guitar to a Beatle.
After the weather, the first episode of a new Here and Now series, For the Love of Music, with Lou Skinner.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Ash is here with a look at the weather forecast, and it's Friday tomorrow. How are things looking as we head into the weekend?
Well, it's looking mild as we head into the weekend, a lot milder than what we're seeing today for sure. Temperatures this afternoon still above zero, but didn't feel so nice thanks to that lack of sunshine this afternoon. Let's take a look at those temperatures across the board. Anywhere from 2 to 5 degrees across the island, a little cooler for the north. And then we've got temperatures above zero for Happy Valley, Goose Bay as well. 4 degrees was the afternoon high. And then Nain, you're still in that cold air, sitting around -14. So we have a ridge of high high pressure affecting Labrador, and then we've got an area of low pressure just over Ontario right now. That's going to bring a warm front in as we head through the overnight tonight, and that's going to bring some milder temperatures through portions of Lab West. And then we've got some showers and or flurries making their way across the island as we speak, and that will generally be the story as we head through the night tonight. With snow for the northern peninsula rather, and then another round of snow moving across Labrador as we head into the early morning hours on Friday. And again, that warmer air moving in for Labrador is going to change, Lab West is going to change that snow over to the potential for some rain as we head into the early morning hours. So temperatures tonight sitting pretty much where we are right now for the island. The winds out of the south or the west, somewhere between 15 to 20 kilometers per hour, and then 20 to 40 kilometers per hour a little bit further east. There's that warm up, 3 degrees for Lab City, and that's thanks to a wind shift. So the winds will shift from easterlies to southerlies and pick up anywhere from 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. And then otherwise, we're going to sit below zero, certainly for Cartwright at -12, and Nain, you'll be hovering somewhere around -12 or -15 as we head through the overnight tonight. Now, tomorrow, that snow will continue generally for Labrador. Then we're going to see a bigger push of mild air move in for the island, and that's going to bring some rain with it as we head into the afternoon. Some sunshine to start for the east, but the showers will move in as we head towards the afternoon. And then in behind that area of low pressure, we're going to see those temperatures drop, and then things are going to change over to some light snow for the northwest and then even towards central as we head into the evening hours on Friday night. So looking at snowfall amounts, this will take us through to tomorrow morning. 2 to 4 centimeters, pretty much the story tonight. And then as we head through the day tomorrow, the snow and windy conditions will continue from north of Rigolet. Essentially, you're looking at anywhere from 20 to 30, some pockets of maybe 30 to 40 centimeters further north. But there is a winter storm warning in effect. For you, you're going to see gusts anywhere from 70 to 80 kilometers per hour. So snow and blowing snow will be the story as we head through the day tomorrow and into Saturday morning. As far as rainfall amounts go, not a whole lot, traced to 5 millimeters. A little bit more, though, along the west coast. We could see pockets of 10 to 15 millimeters of rain as we head through the day on Friday. But again, going to feel very spring-like, anywhere from 4 to 8 degrees. Parts of the northern, northwest portion of the Avalon, depending on how much sunshine we see, we could even see some double-digit highs, but those winds will be breezy out of the southwest, anywhere from 60 to 70 kilometers per hour. And then again, stormy conditions expected for Makkovik and Nain. Otherwise, we're looking at temperatures up again above zero. So anywhere from central to southeastern portions of Labrador, you're going to see some rain in the mix. Now, things are going to change as we head through the weekend, but I'll have those details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, tonight we're launching a new bi-weekly series on Here and Now called For the Love of Music. Video producer Mark Humby is exploring the deep connection some people in the province have with music.
Yeah, in this premiere story, we hear from a guitar collector and rock legend who once sold a vintage guitar to a Beatle.
Rock and roll and guitars are an obsession for Lou Skinner. He's not your average guitar player or collector. Lefty Lou Skinner is one of Newfoundland and Labrador's rock and roll pioneers.
First band was 4 teens, there were 4 of us, and then it was the 5 teens. Somebody quit at 14, and the hell with this, we gotta get a name, right? So I came across a pack of candy back in the late 50s, 59, I believe, and said, I suppose pronounce it ducats, but now being Newfoundland, ducats. I say it the way I look at it. So that's what we went with. That's how we come up with the name. Playing guitar, I got started about 1955. And as soon as Elvis came on the scene and Johnny Cash and all these guys. That's when I got started in learning to play guitar and trying to do something with it. I got to learn to play the guitar, and then I got to get on stage playing it. I like that idea of people admiring what you're doing. I like the idea of making some money with it. Collecting, I got into that in the mid-70s. I got a guitar here that my grandmother gave me for passing grade 8. Some people dispute that. I did get grade 8.
When he wasn't rocking out on stage, Lou Skinner was buying, selling, and trading guitars with collectors all over the world. One day he received a call about his rare 1963 Gibson J180 Everly Brothers signature guitar.
Max Cormy, Masters in Wales. They said, Lou, I understand you got a guitar there and Everly Brothers and all that. I said, yep. He said, I got a friend of mine up here that I do some work with. Paul McCartney is interested in buying it. They're doing a video of yesterday, and he's going to be sitting on the bar stool, and Linda's going to be on the floor. You get the picture? I said, yeah. He said, well, you got the only left-handed Everly Brothers guitar. And he loves that guitar. He loves those guitars, but he don't want to buy a new one. I said, okay. I said, I'll tell you what. You have the money in my account tomorrow morning, and I'll sell it to him. Oh, my God. Good, he said, we'll be back to you. 11 o'clock next morning, girl called me from Bangor, Nova Scotia and said, Mr. Skinner, we got $10,000 here for you.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away.
Guitars may come and go from his collection, but one thing that'll never leave is Lou Skinner's love for playing.
Nobody in the world can master the guitar. Every time you pick it up, you learn something different. Every time you pick it up, you learn you're playing something wrong. And all the guitars got a different story. They all play different. They all sound different. Keeps me busy.
Oh, he certainly has some great stories there.
Yeah, a $10,000 guitar. Wow, that's thanks to Here Now's Mark Cumby for that. And episode 2 is coming up a little later on this month on Here and Now.
The majority of our businesses are breathing a lot easier now with the new changes.
Relief for businesses outside the Avalon as they head into Alert Level 3 this Saturday. We'll get reaction from the Gander and Area Chamber of Commerce about the toll the lockdown has taken.
Well, alert levels will be downgraded Saturday morning. The Avalon will move to alert level 4, while the rest of the province will switch to alert level 3. In level 3, more businesses will be allowed to reopen. Restaurants can return to indoor dining, but bars will have to stay closed. When the entire province was in level 5 lockdown last month, the Gander and Area Chamber of Commerce made a plea to public health to ease restrictions outside the Avalon to alert level 3 based on low case numbers. Joining me now is chair of that group, Sheldon Hancock. So Mr. Hancock, alert level 3 is now on the way. What are you hearing from businesses in your area about the change?
We're finding for the majority, our businesses are breathing a lot easier now with the new changes. A lot less restrictions. Some businesses that previously weren't able to open are able to open. Unfortunately, we still have some groups that cannot open, some businesses. But for the majority, our members are coming back and they're saying that they're pleased with how things are going. They're positive. They understand that public health is obviously number one, but the economy is starting to come back again. So they're pleased with it.
Now, there are no active COVID cases in the central area right now, and Dr. Fitzgerald has said that there's no longer any community spread. Do you think the restrictions should be lifted even more outside the Avalon and allow for businesses like bars and fitness centers to reopen?
Well, we would hope for those restrictions to lift soon. To make a recommendation that it should, I think it's entirely up to her. She's done a great job. The team has done a great job. And, whether they listen to our last letter that we sent in pleading for them to open up businesses in central and western regions, that's to be foreseen. But, we are pleased with how it's going, but we would like to see the rest of restrictions lifted if the numbers stay the way that they are, and especially with no community spread of COVID.
Are you hearing from any businesses who are saying, there are so few cases, 0 cases in Central, why not just lift the restrictions?
A lot of companies are saying that, but cautiously saying it. We all do understand this. This is a new time. Things are very different, and this is, it's a dangerous situation that we could potentially play in should there be another outbreak. But, business is business. They do want to get their doors open and they do want to operate at capacity. So, and we try to help out how we can, but we always have to err on the side of caution.
And balancing, public health and business interests and the economy, that has always been a tricky thing since COVID started.
Absolutely. I think we've learned a lot of lessons. I think that we're able to act more appropriately in a more timely manner. So, this time around, this lockdown time around, I think that we've done much better probably than we did last time because, we do have new protocols, new procedures. Things are understood, I think, a little bit better. So I think this time around has been much better than last time around.
What kind of a toll, though, did this second round of lockdown take on businesses in your area?
Businesses were very scared. They had a poor winter before the first lockdown anyway. So the fall and the winter was really poor. They went into the first lockdown, not with great bank accounts to go into a lockdown. They had just come out of that, were just starting to get recovered again from that. And then the second lockdown happened and our, companies came to us and said, if this goes on long, we don't know what we're going to do. We don't think that we will survive this time around. So it's had a hard toll. So seeing that we're reverting quickly is very much welcomed.
Well, Sheldon Hancock, thank you so much for speaking with me about this today.
Thanks for having me on, Carolyn.
Well, today is being recognized as a National Day of Observance across the country. Exactly 1 year ago, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic. Here at home, it's 1 year to the day since the province began to hold its now regular COVID media briefings. St. John's, along with many other municipalities across the province, lowered flags to half-mast this morning to honor those who've lost their lives to the virus. Mayor Danny Breen thanked frontline and essential workers. He also praised business owners for their resilience and adaptability during the pandemic. Well, a lot of changes this year with how we conduct our personal and professional lives. Health experts have been front and center explaining what's going on and guiding the public. In honor of the national anniversary, CBC asked a few of them what pandemic changes they'd like to see stick.
Hand hygiene. People before this pandemic, I don't know if everyone was so aware of hand hygiene, but certainly that's a major priority now. I think we've also softened our views on masks, and even after the pandemic dissipates, I think we'll see many more masks being worn voluntarily during influenza season or when people are feeling unwell, and I think that's a very helpful cultural change.
What we've seen in medicine is a dramatic shift to virtual care. And that's something that for many patients has been a boon, has been a very positive thing. We've seen patients who have trouble getting to hospital, getting to clinic, be able to do their appointment virtually by video or by telephone, and that's made a huge difference in their lives. It's in some cases, it's made things easier for us too in our profession. So that's something that I think is here to stay.
Early on in the pandemic, our street got behind the 7 o'clock salute to the frontline workers. And since then, it morphed into 7 o'clock checking in with your neighbors. And I hope that doesn't go back, even after we're all vaccinated.
The one thing I would like to remain the same is the resilience I've seen in Canadians being part of every aspect of how we deal with COVID. I've seen it in the emergency rooms, I've seen it in the community, the way people continue to connect, even though some places they haven't been able to connect as much. I want to see that resilience and admire it and see it displayed as we continue on, even past COVID, because we will get through this.
Well, how will we get through this? How long will you have to wear a mask and work from home? Some glimpses of the next year with COVID-19. We'll hear from Dr. Fitzgerald coming up.
the light at the end of the tunnel keeps getting brighter, as Dr. Janice Fitzgerald says, and a lot of people are wondering what to expect over the next few months and years.
Yeah, Dr. Fitzgerald gave us a few clues at yesterday's briefing, which will answer some of the questions that you've had about what's going to change and what won't.
Yes, let's first talk about working from home, Peter. When the alert levels decreased last time, a lot of people returned to the office. So will that happen again this time?
Dr. Fitzgerald is certainly hoping that it doesn't. She wants people to keep working from home as much as possible. The big issue that public health has found with the last outbreak that we saw that was centered around Mount Pearl was the number of contacts people had. So if someone's going to the office, they're interacting with more people. If they do get sick with COVID, it then increases the chances that they're going to be able to spread it. Every additional contact is an additional chance for the virus to spread. But what it also means is when public health has to then try and track down everyone, that's more people they need to call, more people to get tested and isolated, and that can slow down how quickly they're able to get people isolated and tested. And that's really been one of the keys to controlling the outbreak, is doing that quickly. So right now she's encouraging everyone to stay and work from home.
We are asking businesses to have employees work from home wherever possible, regardless of alert level. This recommendation will be in place until we have a sufficient proportion of the population vaccinated. The key to keeping everyone safe is keeping contacts as low as possible. So we need to eliminate all unnecessary contacts.
Now that ballpark that they're looking for when people will have at least their first shot is the end of June, beginning of July, and I think that's probably one of the big differences between a year ago when we were locking down and telling people to work from home, and now is we're now dealing with a little better sense of timing. How long are we going to have to deal with this, rather than asking people to work from home indefinitely for months and months and months on end? So like a lot of the measures here, Dr. Fitzgerald seems willing to ask people to sacrifice a little bit more to get us through the next weeks and months until we get more of those people vaccinated, Carol.
Yeah, and people are kind of having their eye on the finish line these days. And do we have a sense yet when things like mask wearing and physical distancing and other measures, when that might end, ever?
Ever is an interesting word there, because we don't really know. So a lot of this depends on how the virus progresses. We know that they are expecting that every adult who wants one's going to have that vaccine by the end of June or July, but that's not necessarily going to mark the end of COVID. It's not going to disappear, according to a lot of the public health officials that I've been talking to. Earlier this week, we talked about how elderly people, even after they were vaccinated, were still able to contract the disease in BC because their immune system might not be as responsive as younger people. So the public health experts have said that this virus isn't expected to really disappear immediately as soon as everyone has their first dose. So it's possible that things like masks, physical distancing are going to be with us for a lot longer than many people expect.
Certainly, I think physical distancing is something that we need to be thinking about on a regular basis. Masks will probably be something that persists into, fairly far into the future. It does seem to reduce risks. And to be honest with you, I know we were doing a lot of physical distancing and stuff during our flu season, but seeing what has happened, not just with flu, but with other respiratory viruses that we usually get this time of year, the number of outbreaks we've seen in long-term care because of mask wearing and things like that, I think all of us are sitting down and have a little rethink about how we approach things with regard to masks. So there's lots of learnings we're going to take away from this, and I think some of those public health measures are going to stick around for a while, but and some of them we may bring back from time to time, just for old time's sake. Not really.
Yeah, so making a little bit of a joke there, because I don't think anyone wants to have to bring them back. But, as we even heard a little bit earlier from some of the national experts talking about the things that we've learned from this virus. And, when you look at things like, for example, influenza, and how there's been literally one case of influenza instead of dozens and dozens like we normally see, Carolyn, you can see how some of these measures have now been shown to work for not just COVID, but other respiratory infections. So, there are still a lot of big question marks about what will the disease look like after people are vaccinated, and a lot of that will then depend what measures public health officials think we still need and for how long.
And of course, tomorrow we have a briefing. It's Friday, so Peter, you'll be on that briefing tomorrow, right?
Absolutely. We'll see what comes up.
Great. Thanks so much, Peter. Ashley is back with a look at the long range. So Ashley, you mentioned earlier that it's going to be a mild start to the weekend, but how about when we get into Saturday and Sunday? How is that looking?
Yeah, things are going to start to change. We're going to see some colder air move back in, and that'll all change over from rain to the potential for some flurries. So let's take a look at the future tracker. We're going to see some flurries to start the day on Saturday, certainly for the West Coast and through Labrador. Things will eventually improve as that area of low pressure moves out through the day, certainly for northern portions of Labrador, but we're going to see snow again along southeastern portions and then move into the northern peninsula and eventually the West Coast as we head through the day on Saturday. Then potentially some flurries will move through late day for central as well as eastern areas of the island into Sunday morning. That should clear off into the afternoon, but it is looking generally gray through the day on Sunday. and the potential for flurries will stick around. Now, as far as temperatures go, going to hover around the 0 degree mark or just a little bit below for the west coast. Through central and eastern areas should stay above 0. But again, with that risk of a few flurries, certainly towards the evening hours, as well as a few peaks of sun. So certainly a nice start to the weekend. And then for Labrador, Happy Valley, Goose Bay, you're looking at -1 with snow and blowing snow, the story, as we see some of those windy conditions continue. And then for Cartwright, you're going to sit around the 1 degree mark. And then Lab City, temperatures really dropping back down to about -14 through the day. Certainly into Sunday, we're going to see that colder air move back in for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, back down to -12. Some flurries, the story for Southeast, as well as pretty much across the board, and a generally gray day through the day. And again, those temperatures will be back down below 0, 1 or 2 degrees below 0, and a little bit cooler for the west coast. Now that's pretty much where we're going to stay as we head through Monday and Tuesday, looking unsettled, some gray skies, as well as the chance of flurries, and overnight lows going to start to dip as well. So back down, it looks like, to about -10 by the time Tuesday night rolls around. As we head into Central, those temperatures are going to be cooler a little bit earlier. So Monday night's when we're going to see that drop. Overall, flurries, the story, and gray skies into Tuesday. And then for the west coast, generally the same story. A few degrees cooler, it looks like, but overnight lows by Monday and Tuesday dipping into the -11 to -12 degree range. As far as eastern Labrador is going, we'll see a big drop in temperatures, like I said, on Sunday. Into Monday, that will continue. We'll see a little bit of sunshine as things start to clear out. Certainly by Tuesday, looking at some sunshine, -14, but overnight lows into the -20s again to start off the week. For Lab West, a little bit nicer as far as some sunshine goes, but still going to be a little bit unsettled with the potential for flurries both Sunday and Tuesday. And again, those overnight lows about -25, -27 to start off the week. Now, I wanted to share this photo, a moonrise over the northwest Avalon. Natalie shared that lovely shot with us. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. And if you have any weather photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Well, before we leave you tonight, we do want to clarify something from Mark Quinn's item about school changes, about students not having class early next week. Well, schools inside and outside the Avalon will continue in whatever scenario they're currently in until those changes take effect on Thursday. So if you were doing online classes, they will continue.
Okay, thanks for that, Peter. And I mentioned earlier, Peter, that we have a briefing again tomorrow. What changes are you expecting to hear about tomorrow?
Caroline, I think there's 2 things that we're expecting. We already know about the alert level changes, but Dr. Fitzgerald has said that changes are coming for rotational workers to try and ease some of the burden that they face by having to do the full 2 weeks of isolation. So we'll see exactly how they're going to tackle that while still trying to, protect from the new variants. The other thing is sports teams. They've been linked by her to the most recent outbreak. We're hoping to get a little more data on exactly how many cases were spread through sports.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Peter, and thank you everyone at home for watching tonight.
Have a great night.